Hey, morning.
Good morning. So my name is Lee Wright. I am the Secretary of the Osceola Young Democrats, and we are lucky to be joined today with the Democratic candidate for House District 42, which is great because I am a constituent of this district. So I am really looking forward to this interview. So Democratic candidate Barbara Cady, House District 42. Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Lee.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. So we're trying to do this theme of spill the tea with OYD. So
Right.
what are you drinking today?
So I've got in my little elephant teapot, I've
Oh
got
my gosh.
green tea and I've got my little cup. And this is my favorite. It's actually not hot tea. It's cold tea today because it's a little warm. But I love the green tea with the ginseng and the honey and all that good stuff. So that's my tea of choice today.
So Barbara, we have a little bit of a background, and you know I'm an English teacher.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you an English question.
Okay.
So I want you to give me a metaphor for you and that tea. How are you like that tea?
How am I like this green tea? It's very zen and calm, and that's the way I try to live my life at this stage of the game. So I would say I'm like that in that inner peace is something I strive for, and green tea is all about calm and inner peace.
I love that. On our social media page, we've been doing a lot of mindfulness on
Yeah.
Mindfulness Mondays.
Mm.
And I've been doing a lot of meditating. And, it's so interesting how the social distancing really causes us to get to know ourselves a little bit better.
True. Yes,
So I
absolutely.
really appreciate that answer.
I'm very familiar with mindfulness and meditation and yoga. So that's part of my life, and that's what I bring with me on this campaign. That type of thought process, because to get all stressed out and worry is really going to take the joy out of it. So that I really do look towards my yoga instruction. And in fact, at Osceola County Lake Toho, they have Toho yoga every Sunday morning at 8:30. If any of my yogis are watching, I want to say hello. And it's a beautiful opportunity to go out and be right there in our district. Well, it's actually District 43, but it's our county, and the lake is so pretty. So I am enjoying that.
So I know that you mentioned your campaign, and
Mhm.
I introduced you by talking about House District 42, but what exactly is the position and the office you're running for, and who can vote for you?
Sure. Okay. I'm running for the Florida House of Legislature, the House of Representatives, which is the lower chamber of our state legislature. We have the Senate and the House of Representatives. So I'm running for the District 42, which includes parts of Osceola County, Kissimmee, almost all of St. Cloud, I think probably all of St. Cloud, parts of Kissimmee, parts of Poinciana in both Osceola and Polk. And then over into Polk County, we have Lake Wales, we have Highland Park, Babson Park, and we have Frostproof, a little town called Frostproof. I'm not even sure if Osceola people are familiar with it, but it's an adorable little place, and I love it. So that's what I'm running for, and what I will do is go to Tallahassee, represent all the residents of this district, and it is quite a diverse district. And what I'm going to try to do is bring a little bit of that Tallahassee budget into our community to meet the needs of the people that we have. And every district has specific needs. So District 42 is a pretty complex district, and so it really does it really does require that the representative has an open office, open phone, talks to the people, goes out and meets with the different groups. Not everyone has the same experience. It's we all live in the same state, in the same country, but it's a very big district with agricultural parts of the area. We've got Poinciana, our Hispanic community. We've got young people. We've got the elderly. So we have to look at all of these things and address all these issues. And I'm looking forward to doing that. I think I'm the one for that job.
So you mentioned having an open office phone and making sure you're reaching out to your constituents if you were to be elected to House District 42. And we're all in this time of social distancing, and I'm sure canvassing is pretty difficult right now. So what
Mm,
exactly are you doing right now to make sure that your message is getting out to people that can
okay.
vote for you?
Yes, well, we have Facebook, social media right now. We have phones. We're calling voters. We're calling donors. That's the pretty much the part that we've been in for the last 6 months, is building up our campaign accounts. We have been collecting petitions, and they're due on Monday, and we're almost there. So that's pretty much what we do. Is I've been making phone calls to people that I've known for the last 3 years. As many of you know, I've been running for the seat since 2018. I challenged the incumbent. There was a very specific reason why I did that. And so we have evolved and changed a lot, but that's pretty much it. I am not knocking doors. We are following the social distance guidelines, and I'm pretty much working from home. So that's it.
All right. So we are the Osceola Young Democrats, and we have a platform of affordable housing and the environment, which I know you're really big on, and also education. And
Right.
there's a lot more, issues that come along with that. We are a big tent party. So why are you a Democrat? Like, what about being a Democrat is important to you?
I'm a Democrat because the Democratic Party, as you called it, the Big Tent Party, is about inclusion. It's about meeting people where they are, not trying to change things. Everybody has the right to live their own version of the American dream, I like to call it, and those are the values that I think are really important. We, as Democrats, also in the state of Florida, have to learn how to work together. So as a Democrat, I reach out to people of other political persuasions because my district is mixed. We have many Democrats, and we have a lot of Republicans, and we have a big population of no party affiliation, which means people have not really chosen a side that they want to be on, that they're open-minded. So that's the way I present my campaign. Is I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what's going on in your world. And this way, that's the best way I can meet everybody's needs. The best way I possibly can is to really understand everyone's different experience, because we all don't have the same experience. That's the most important thing I've learned since I've started this journey.
Yeah, when we were talking about setting up the Osceola Young Democrats, we were trying to figure out what the demographic, like the age range for young is. And
Hmm.
it's really 40 and under. It's like 14 to 40. And I
Uh-huh.
always thought that was really funny that like that huge gap of years and age experience and stuff is considered young. That said, why do you think that a young person should take interest in your campaign?
Oh, okay. Wonderful question. At the age of 52, I went back to college full time. I put aside my real estate career. That was in 2010. And I went back to college, and I was right in there with college students 18 to 25 at a state college in New York. And I've raised 4 children of my own. They are ages 32, 30, 27, and 22. So I think that I'm young at heart. It's kind of one of the things that I said, is that even though I'm a grandmother now, I really believe that the young people are our future. Well, obviously they're the future, and the party has to be carried forward by our young voters. And so I'm ready to hear what's going on. And I think when I was back in school, I found that I had a really good connection with the young people. They were my children's ages, but since I wasn't their mom, they were very open, and I would talk to them. And it really did concern me, the stress level that young people are under when they're trying to get an education, and the cost of education, the things that my generation didn't quite have to deal with, and my parents' generation didn't have to deal with when going to school. So that's why I think young people can come and talk to me. I'm ready to hear what they have to say. I am a boomer, but I just love I love the young people. I love them. And going back to school at an adult age put me in a position where they felt comfortable talking to me, because I wasn't their peer as much as I was more like a person they could confide in. So I would say that's the reason why, and they're a big part of our constituency. I have to be open to what's going on with toddlers and preschoolers all the way up to our Osceola seniors. So young people are a big part of that.
And you are like, I constantly bump into you at events, and I am always following your page and seeing how involved you are, from the coal ash to, you know, the nature's rights. And so having said that, and like you being everywhere and being so energized, I know that the other side, like the other people running for the other seat or the other candidacy, I guess you could say, there is a lot of different types of experience there. So how do you feel like experience factors into this race?
Oh, for me, well, if you're talking about the other side, are you talking about the primary, the Republican primary of candidates?
Yeah, so the Republican primary.
Yeah, so there's 4 candidates running for that, and they're all right now working to get their best face forward. And for me, the Democrat, there's no challenger. So I'm really just focusing on November, and I'm focusing on what the people need. So, for example, the coal ash, that happened very organically. I became a leader in this coal ash movement because what I decided to do was open up my candidacy and my campaign to meet people who were in a different political realm than me. For example, I opened up what I call community conversation at the Osceola St. Cloud Library. So one of the days, and I invited everybody to come talk to me about what's going on. This is nonpartisan. Let's just have a community conversation. Because I like to say that, you know, we don't really have to look for common ground. We are all standing on it in Osceola County and in District 42. So some people started to come, and it was very informal at first, and it was great to talk to Republicans, non-party people, and just really get to know. And the number one thing, of course, in Osceola County and in St. Cloud and Poinciana is the traffic. That was the big issue. And then one day, I had my meeting, and the rooms were scheduled in advance. So about a month before, I had this room and this date and this time. And it turned out it was in May, just around the time when we were getting close to the vote for the sales tax increase. And so that's what I had planned on talking about, you know, what was going on, and what my position with the sales tax increase is that I didn't support it. I didn't feel that taxing, becoming the most expensive taxed county in the state, which would have been at 8.5%, was a good economic way to go, considering that our median income was one of the lowest in the state. So it didn't make sense to me, and I wanted to keep that conversation open for other ways to address the problems that we have of the lack of infrastructure. So what ended up happening was that day was 50 people showed up, and they came out from the Holopah area, and they wanted to know if this was the meeting for the coal ash. And I said, if that's an issue that you want to talk about, that's what this meeting is about. And that's what ended up happening. We had 50 people and the media, and that was when it all started. And that was in May. So we talked about the sales tax issue, but really overshadowing this referendum that was going to be put up as a special vote was this coal ash issue. And we found out by the folks that live out in Holopah, they were seeing these trucks come racing down 441, and they weren't quite sure what it was. And with a little bit of digging, we found out that there had been an extension to a contract with a landfill, and they were bringing in toxic coal ash from Puerto Rico. No public hearing. People out there have wells, they have septic, and it was dangerous. So we got on that. The next thing you know, we're going to the meetings, and the media is covering this. And we were successful after a number of months to get these deliveries cut short. It was a small step forward. But that's the kind of candidate I am, is really you have to be engaged. I am engaged with everything that's going on. I get phone calls from people who ask me things about what's going on because I make myself available. And I think that's what a state representative needs to do, because we're the first contact from the district to the state legislature is your state representative. Your senator comes next, but after the county, this is who you're going to contact. So I make myself available. My phone number is public, my cell phone number. I'm not afraid of having people email me. I'm not afraid of people calling me. And that's the way I think it should be.
And I know that you've been a really big proponent for saving Split Oak, and I really appreciate the attention you're bringing to that. And there's the coal ash issue, and I'm sure you're familiar with the issues we've been having in St. Cloud with our water.
Yes.
So having said that, all of this is stuff in our own backyard, but with the 2018 election, there were a lot of questions about like toxic algae bloom and things like that. So from a statewide perspective, what should be some things that we should be doing to kind of address development and environmental sustainability?
That's the $1 million question. Well, the rights of nature movement, I'm a director. Let me give you a little background with that. The Florida Rights of Nature Network has just become a nonprofit. We're working on getting all of that together. There's a board meeting via Zoom every week, and I meet with the other board members. I have been voted in as the director of what they have deemed the West Central region, which includes Osceola, Polk, and counties west towards Tampa and a little bit south, like Highlands County. And that really addresses bringing government down to the local level. So if people like me, more people like me, are elected to the state legislature, we're going to have a more friendly house towards this idea that the people are really the stewards of their own land and their own water, and we can have more rights about saying what people can put into it and what they can't. Right now, for example, with the coal ash, that landfill out there is private property. So as long as they weren't breaking any so-called laws, and the Environmental Protection of Florida was saying everything was copacetic, there was nothing anybody could do. But with the rights of nature, a local people can say, no, you can't bring this toxic substance into my community where it can leak into my well and my septic and destroy not only Florida's aquifer, but cause all kinds of things like cancer and respiratory issues and all that. So it's really a movement to bring more power to the people on the local level. And the state right now is not very friendly towards that idea. And Tom Lindsay is an environmental lawyer who has basically started this whole movement in this area. Well, they've made progress in Pennsylvania, they've made progress in Ohio, and Florida is the fastest moving one because of the algae and all of that. So what we have is the Econ-Lakahatchee River, the Kissimmee River, the Wekiva River. Alachua County has got a movement. So all through Florida, these are the issues that are being addressed on a local level, and they're starting with their own small groups so that we can get legislation passed that allows local communities, the city councils, the Osceola and other county councils. That's what we want, so that we can actually have more of a say. It's a pretty complex way to go about things, but once people understand it, it really makes a lot of sense. It goes back to government by the people, for the people, which is very much the way our forefathers set up the Constitution. Our Constitution is not set up to be regulated, and that's the problem with regulatory agencies. We have the EPA, we have the FDEP, but what they are really state corporate run entities. The corporations dictate how much poison they can put in. And so the FDEP will say, okay, no more than X amount of this particular toxin can go into the river. But that's not really a regulation. That's a regulation that doesn't really help the people because it's not safe. So we want to go back to what was originally intended when we wrote the Constitution. And that's what this movement is all about.
All right. So kind of going back to the question, because I know that it's, you know, environment is, it's hard to talk about environment without talking about growth, right?
Yes.
So, and I'm an English teacher, so I need to use my sources here.
Yes.
And then according to Census Bureau data for Osceola County, the median gross rent is about $1,200. And the median gross mortgage is about $1,400.
Yeah.
So the median household income is $50,000. What is your position on affordable housing, and how can we fix the affordable housing issue?
Okay, well, I serve on the Osceola County Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. I've been on that committee for about 1.5 to 2 years. We meet every other month generally. We haven't had a meeting since the COVID stay-at-home order's been in effect. There are 3 projects in Osceola County that are beautiful. There's one that Los Altos, that just opened up near Bella Lago, and they're populating. So we've got some amazing people who want to address these issues, and we've got some developers that want to help with the affordable housing. The problem is getting the land and also the funding from Tallahassee. We have something called the Sadowski Fund in Tallahassee that every year is rated. This money is set aside. It's part of the Florida budget. It goes into the fund, and it's really to address the needs of affordable housing. Osceola County is one of the most difficult counties because we have so many tourism and hospitality service workers, and the pay scale is not in line with what our homes cost and our mortgages cost. So we have a couple of programs that are for people who are working, and they can qualify, they can apply and qualify, but we don't have nearly enough, and that's the problem. So the infrastructure for affordable housing, the ideology of it is there. Unfortunately, the brick and mortar and land is not there, not enough. So we have a few really great programs that I got to see last year, but we need much more, and that's going to come from Tallahassee, because we have to keep that funding in the Sadowski Fund and use it for what it's intended to be used for. It generally gets taken out and spread around for different things that the largely Republican held legislature deems it appropriate. And that's, to me, I think that's wrong. And that's what we have to keep working on, is fighting for that money to go for what it's meant to be used for. And that's for affordable housing. It's for people who are working, and we have lots of this, especially in Point Siena. 2 jobs at least per household, 3 and 4 jobs sometimes, cannot make ends meet. And that's wrong. Everybody who's working 40 hours a week, regardless of whether they have a PhD or a high school diploma or a trade, should be able to live comfortably in a decent home, in a safe, our home is supposed to be our safe place to go in. And that's not happening in Osceola County. And that's really one of the things that made me step up and run back in 2017, was that the homeowners in Point Siena were really being abused. And our current representative didn't feel that that was something that he was supposed to be getting involved in. And I disagree.
So we've touched on a lot of topics. We touched on nature, affordable housing, workers, and now homeowners associations, but we're kind of like shifting into a new reality with COVID-19 and social distancing and stay-at-home orders, and the influx of the economy. So I guess the question that I'm going to ask is, what do you feel like is the most pressing issue right now for you in your campaign?
Oh, the most pressing issue right now is absolutely the health and well-being of our constituents. We need more testing. Well, first of all, we have to listen to the experts, the scientists. And that's what I've been doing, is trying to follow the science. Our politicians are always going to try to paint it, the career politicians, our governors, our congresspeople, the president, they want to try to paint it so that it looks good for them. And that's really the problem, is that what I learned recently was that the numbers of coronavirus death tolls that were being reported by our medical examiners and our health officials is now being filtered through the governor. So that means the governor can put whatever spin, the governor's office can put whatever spin on it they want. And that's not transparency in government. So that's one issue right there. That's a very important issue. And I think that from what I'm hearing, because I am not a healthcare professional or a healthcare expert, so I need to keep myself open to listen to the science and listen to the experts. And what I understand is that testing and tracing is really the key. And some of the countries that are starting to do that are having more success than the United States. The United States is not the leader, unfortunately, in solving this problem right now. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball, but everybody's trying. I'm going to give our leadership that much. They're trying to get it in order. And I just hope that we can listen to the science and do what's right for the people.
So I'm gonna kind of push back on the everybody's trying thing just a little
Sure.
bit, because I read recently that Florida House Democrats have tried to reconvene to have a special legislation about COVID-19,
Right.
and that was kind of shut down by the House Republicans. So I guess my follow-up question to that would
Yeah.
be, what should our elected officials be doing at a state at the state level to be helping out Floridians?
Well, I think the special session would have been a good thing. It is unfortunate that they voted that down. So I agree with you there. When I say trying, I feel like I want to give. I know that this is such a complex thing and no one's ever dealt with it before. So I don't want to be too harsh and immediately, calling out and condemning every elected official, but I do think we could be doing more in this area. So we should really have that special session. We should meet with the medical examiners and the healthcare educators and the healthcare people to talk about what's going on. So, to answer the question, what should the elected officials be doing? The elected officials should be meeting on a daily basis with the science, meeting with the people and following their suggestions. I don't think if the numbers are going up in a particular county, then we should be opening up, public areas. But on the other hand, I also know that people are very, very stressed out. The businesses, I was in Frost Creek the other day and I met with a single mother, owner of a business who she lost 3 of her 4 businesses. She just basically had to close them down. And so she's homeschooling her kids. She's trying to keep the one business going. So I do understand the stress, but I always feel like if people come together, even if it's in a Zoom setting like we are doing right now, face masks, that we should be talking and discussing these issues is the most important thing. And that's the only way we're going to get to a solution. We can try something. If it doesn't work, then we have to try something else. But it's very hard. So my heart does go out to the small business owners. Everybody, we all know what the former governor, Rick Scott, did with our unemployment system. It's designed to fail. That is pretty much fact. That's not just opinion. I was just reading an article this morning where, he's quoted as saying, this is not something we want people to rely on. This is not something that we want, because then people, with having this attitude that people are going to stay home because they're going to get more money. Well, let's make it so that they will make more money working. I mean, let's look at that right there. Like, oh, they're going to stay home because they get more money from the federal government and the state. Well, shouldn't be that way. Your job should be something that pays a decent wage. So that's something that has to be addressed. But we have so many. To pick one thing, we have to go with the health crisis. If I have to pick one thing, we have to go with the health crisis, because without our health, we don't have a government, we don't have a community, we don't have a state. So that's the number one thing, of course. And we have to get people healthy, and we have to reopen businesses slowly, but we have to take care of people. Neighbors are reaching out to help neighbors. I know I always make a phone call to my neighbors across the way, and I'll pick up something at the store for them if they need it. And that's the kind of thing, we do see a lot of that. So people, when I say people are trying, people are great. After 9/11, it was amazing how everyone came together, and I'm seeing that in communities here. People are looking out for one another, and that gives me a little bit of hope. But elected officials can do more.
So I'm going to take this moment to kind of fanboy out a little bit because, like I said, you are a candidate for my district, House
Right.
District 42, and I live in St. Cloud. And my current representative, I've reached out to him and their office a little bit because I'm really big on education as a teacher and
Yeah.
public education. And so, you know, I've had talks with that office, but I've always felt like I've been talking to a brick wall. And the thing that
Yeah.
I love about your candidacy and the thing that I love about you, Barbara, is how much you involve the community, whether it's the coal ash issue, whether it's having a roundtable to discuss the sales tax,
Mhm.
and have other like elected official or other partisan candidates involved in that discussion so that you can get all sides of the debate or the discourse.
Important.
So my question on top of that, on top of lauding you with praise about that, is how do you plan on involving residents in the decision-making process if elected?
Great question. You know, we didn't really touch on education. And it's being that you're a teacher, and that's a very important thing that the COVID-19 is really overshadowing everything. But I'll make a quick statement about public education is also a big passion of mine. First of all, because I am a product of public schools in the state of New York. My children were a product of public schools in the state of New York. And Florida is where I started public schools when I was a child. My father was in the Navy, but then my family left and we moved north. My daughter came back to Florida from New York, and she's a public school teacher in Broward County. And one of the things I love to talk about is how I'm so proud of her. And this is something that where I first became an advocate for special needs kids and special needs learners, is that she was a special needs learner. And she got early intervention right off the bat. We had a good, strong special education program in New York, and I was a mom that was aware. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. And fast forward, I love to tell the whole trajectory, but fast forward to she's a 32-year-old bilingual, college-educated public school teacher now who talks to me and says, "I can see kids here that need an IEP, and I don't have the support, I don't have the tools, and we don't have the funding for that." And it breaks my heart because she knows that all she needed, there are so many young kids that all they need is a little one-on-one and they can get through it. She got occupational therapy to teach her how to tie her shoes. She couldn't learn just the way every other cookie cutter kid learned, like, you know, just naturally. She would needed that special little help. And there are kids that we have here in Florida that are missing the boat because we don't have the funding. So that's something I'm really going to fight for. And we need more. I know there's a lot of teachers running over on the West Coast, and we welcome that. You know, we have to vote. We have to really get to know our candidates, vote for those teachers, vote for women, vote for Democrats, and vote for people who are very much concerned about this public education system, because that is the backbone of our democracy. So what am I going to do to engage? I love the idea of town halls. So I had planned on starting those right after the qualifying, you know, having town hall meetings in the community, inviting people. So if we still can't do that, we'll do Zoom town halls. And the other way is my phone. I love getting phone calls from constituents. I have a couple of people, you know, brings a smile to my face. When I think of my friends in Point Siena, they call me. There's one lady that I've gotten to love. She moved up here in her senior years from the Broward County area, and she retired, and she's in Point Siena, and she's lovely, lovely. All she wanted just was some quiet, you know, to get out of the crowd. And you know, life is pretty difficult for her right now because things are not the way she had planned to be. You know, things are becoming more expensive, and she's struggling. She's a woman that worked her whole life and is living on Social Security and her pension. That to me says there's a problem. There's a breakdown in the system. So during my time of door knocking, I've gone over and spoken to her and her neighbors, and we've sat in her garage. We've talked about her life, and I just love connecting with the people. Osceola Council on Aging is another wonderful service for Osceola, and I was a Meals on Wheels volunteer for over 2 years. So connecting with our seniors, we have some great seniors that are just amazing people. I miss them because in March I moved to Polk County. I'm now in Lake Wales. Just for those of you who don't know, I'm still in our district. I had to downsize to a smaller place because it's just me now. Everybody's grown. And so I was not going to leave my district, but I moved to Lake Wales, and I'm looking forward to getting involved in Polk County with the Meals on Wheels program here. But as soon as I got here, everything came to a stop. So, you know, it's just been about kind of regrouping and watching what's going on and making phone calls. But my door will always be open. My phone is open. My staff will be trained that the constituents and the small business owners come first. That's who we want to talk to because they are the lifeblood of our community. And that's where my heart is. So that's what I'll be doing.
So, okay, now that we've talked about some issues, I recently learned that you were a Taylor Swift fan. And so, which is interesting. I live in a Taylor Swift household. My wife loves Taylor Swift. And
Oh, she has it.
yeah,
Right.
and my daughter's like, she's only 4 years old, but probably knows every Taylor Swift song.
Yeah.
So having said that, and I know that Swifties have been getting a little bit more political recently. If you could choose a Taylor Swift song that would like kind of be like the theme for your campaign and Taylor Swift would okay it, what would be the song you think?
For my campaign, oh boy. You know, her songs are about young people, young women, and I connect with that because I was a teenager once, a young woman, and all the insecurities and all that. Yeah, you know, I should have given this a little bit more thought. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Let's see. Well, it's not really about my campaign, but I think I mentioned in my little video clip that I love the one about being 15 and when you're going back to school. And I mean, I kind of relived that when I decided to go to college as an adult. It was the same thing, only opposite. I was scared to death to go back to school because I was so much older than the typical student. But I found that, you know, just by being myself and slowly, you know, getting comfortable in my own skin, that I was able to make friends. But Taylor's got Shake It Off is a good one, I think, for a campaign. That's the one that's coming to mind now. And Shake It Off, she talks about how, you know, you're going to have haters when you're in public life. And as a performer, you know, she has her haters, and she went through a period where people were all criticizing her and she was all down. But Shake It Off is great because it really talks about, you know, the haters are going to hate. And you just have to shake it off, and just be true to yourself. And so that's pretty much how I am with my campaign. I had to go against some of our local party elected people when it came to the sales tax. I didn't agree with what they were proposing. So, you know, that gives you pushback. It's always hard to go against your own party. But in the end, I'm always going to be true to what I believe is right and what I know is right for my people. And the way I know what's right for the people in the constituents is what they tell me. So Shake It Off is the one that comes to mind, but you know, a few minutes to think about it because she's got so many. And I'm not as up on the new stuff with Taylor. The way I got involved with Taylor Swift was my daughter, Susan, the one I mentioned before, who's my 32-year-old teacher, loved her, absolutely loved her music when she first came out. And I took her as a birthday present to Madison Square Garden to see Taylor Swift. And that was a wonderful, I mean, I thought, wow, I mean, there was 11 and 12 and 13-year-olds there, but she was an amazing performer. And she brought out James Taylor on stage. So there was somebody from my era. So that's how I kind of got to really like her. And also, I just think she's an amazing young woman. I mean, who writes songs at 14 and goes to Nashville and basically turns down a deal because she wants to maintain her own poetic license. So she impresses me as a very strong woman. She's evolved into that. And her music is just fun and youthful, and I enjoy it a lot. But so Shake It Off is my campaign.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really only have one more question.
Okay.
And I know that you've worked a lot with the Friends of Split Oak. Shout out to Friends of Split Oak.
Shout out to Valerie Anderson. She's an amazing woman.
Yeah. So, me and my family, we like to go to parks and stuff. So where are some of your favorite places to kind of relax and get out in nature in our district?
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about Split Oak Forest, for example. I've gone on many of the hikes and we've done yoga in the park, and it's a beautiful place. I recommend everyone go out there when we get back to getting out in the fresh air and all that. Split Oak Forest is wonderful. Here in Polk County, well, there's also Lake Toho, which I lived on for 12 years. 13 years. I lived on the southwest corner of Lake Tahoe in a community called Bella Lago. And downtown in Kissimmee is, it's actually District 43, but we're all so close. There's beautiful park there. It's wonderful to just go walk around and look at nature. Out here in Polk County, I've gone to the Tiger Creek Preserve. There's Bach Tower. Unfortunately, it's closed right now. I met some wonderful people on Crooked Lake in Cody Villa. So we're trying to help them protect their lake and their home and their life from the developers as well. You mentioned development before. Development is going to happen, but I think it's up to our municipalities to dictate what kind of growth we have, what kind of growth is the best for our community. It doesn't have to be a sellout and just flatten out the land. Like, for example, Bella Lago has areas where the trees were left, which is good. But where all the homes are, it's hot because all the trees were taken down and non-native plants were put in. Out here in where I live in Lake Wales, there's so much shade and I can feel it. It's so much cooler. So that's what I really want to see, is that moving forward with our open land, you can't stop people selling their land. And some of these orange groves that surround me now are going to be sold. People are moving on to different ways of making a living, or children are inheriting land they don't want to keep. So, but we as a municipality, I know the Village of Highland Park and this Council of Frostproof and Lake Wales are very concerned about keeping it within the beautiful native atmosphere that we have here. So that's Tiger Creek Preserve on all the lakes. Of course, we have the Kissimmee Park. Kissimmee River is one of the things that I'm going to be representing once we get back open again. I'm the face of KISS4. I was asked by the leader of the Friends of Split Oak to do that. So these are all things that we see down in the future. Yeah.
So I know we're coming up on the deadline for petitions, right?
Yes.
So if somebody in House District 42, so St. Cloud, Frostproof area, Polk County, if anybody can sign your petition, how do they go about doing that and contacting you?
Oh, okay. We have a link. It's been up on Facebook. It's on my webpage, www.barbaracady.com. If you go to that, you'll see the first thing you'll see is a big green square and it says sign the petition. Just click on it. You can fill it out and sign it electronically with your finger or with a stylus pen. And yes, we still need a couple hundred more by Monday. So I'm hoping they're still coming in. So I'm hoping we can get there. If not, we will pay the fee. We will be on the ballot. There is no way I'm not going to be on that ballot. But this would be great. It would save the campaign about $1,800. So that's it. www.barbaracady.com.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Barbara. And we're filming this the day before Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day.
Thank you so much.
And I really appreciate your time and your candidness with some of your responses.
Sure. And if anybody wants to give me a call, they can go on my website. I'm right on there. Send me a message. I'll be happy. Put your phone number in there. I'll be happy to call you back.
Well, thank you so much, Barbara.
All right. Thank you, Lee. Keep up the good work.